Dear Marwa, there is a kind of emptiness that most people never talk about. It comes when your dreams feel bigger than your circumstances, when you can see the destination in your mind but you have no road, no car, and no map to get there. That is where I was, somewhere between hope and hopelessness. I was a man with stories buried inside me, stories of my people, stories of my land, stories of my journey, but I didn't know how to tell them. I didn't know if anyone would even listen. I felt like a storyteller with no voice, a dreamer without wings. It was during this time, in the quiet nights filled with questions, that I stumbled across you, Marwa. I don't remember the exact title of the video. Maybe it was one of those village time hours, or maybe it was your walk through the dusty roads of Nyabohanse. But what I do remember is how I felt when I watched you. You were not rich, you were not loud, you were not acting, you were just you, real, raw, walking proudly with your camera through your village like it was Paris. And in that moment I saw something I had never seen before. Permission. Permission to be African. Permission to be simple. Permission to tell our real stories. Permission to tell our truth. I remember sitting there, frozen. Something about the way you spoke. No filters, no shame, no fear. Cracked something open inside me. I saw myself in you, a young African man trying to tell the world that we matter. That our stories, though humble, are sacred. From that night, I started watching more of your videos. I watched how you smiled with the people around you, how you gave strangers your time, how you showed your family with pride. I began to feel like I was watching a brother I never met. But more than that, I began to believe in me. You were the mirror I didn't know I needed. You reminded me that maybe, just maybe, I was born to do this, to speak, to film, to document, and to inspire. I am Marwa. I hope you don't mind calling you that, Marwa. Not I am Marwa, not big YouTuber, not celebrity, just Marwa. Because in my heart, I feel like I'm writing to a brother, not a stranger, not a star, but a fellow African son. Someone I've never met yet, someone who changed my life in ways I struggle to explain. This is not just a video, it's a letter. A deeply personal one, a letter I've carried in my spirit for months. A letter from one dreamer to another. A letter from a young man in Uganda, a radio host, a village storyteller, a struggling content creator, to you, the man who gave me the courage to try. Marwa, you don't know me, but I know you. I know your walk, I know how you speak, I know how you walk barefoot in Nyabohanse with a camel and a purpose. I know your heart, how you build homes, not just for yourself, but for your mother, your brothers, and even your neighbors. I've watched you with admiration as you brought, almost everything in your village where no one breathed clean water or maybe nice roads could flow. You didn't just build walls, you built hope. I'm telling you, Marwa. You took your family from a humble house to a mansion in the village. You brought solar lights, paved roads, planted trees. You invited the world to a corner of Kenya many had never heard of. You created a global community right from your soil. And you didn't even forget where you came from. That really touched me. You showed us all what it means to be a true African son. You showed us that village is not a word to be ashamed of. It's not backward, it's beautiful, it's where roots run deep. And Marwa, as I watched all of this silently from my own side of Africa, I began to dream again. Now, before I saw your videos, I was barely holding onto my dream. I had ideas, so many actually, videos I wanted to make, places I wanted to go, stories I wanted to tell about my people. But I didn't have support. Not from friends, not from family, not even from the system. I didn't even have the money, I didn't have the tools. All I had was the desire. And even that desire was fading. I remember sitting alone in my room one day scrolling through YouTube. I was not even searching for anything, I was just escaping, And there you were. You were walking through your home, Nyabohanse, the soil was red. The air was quiet, You were showing your house, it was not done, it had no paint yet, but You were very proud. You were smiling, you were dreaming out loud, and you were calling it a mansion. That video broke me in the most beautiful way, because in that moment I saw someone who reminded me of myself, someone who started with nothing but a vision, someone who didn't need permission to begin, someone who didn't wait to be perfect. You just started, and in your start I found my courage. Marwa, your videos are not just entertainment. They are medicine, I'm telling you. I'm not the only one who has watched your videos and felt healed, encouraged, or maybe reawakened. I saw the water tanks you installed, in your house. I saw the children running behind you as you vlogged. I saw how your house became a landmark, a story, a symbol of African pride. I saw how your brother like Devi and your sister Demango followed in your footsteps. I saw the joy in Mama Anne's eyes when you gave her a roof over her head. You showed the world that you can rise without leaving others behind. You didn't just lift yourself alone. You lifted your village, your home, your people, and quietly, through a screen, you were lifting me too. Because I looked around my own life here in Uganda, in Mbara, and I began to think, maybe my village also deserves a voice. Maybe my people also deserve to be seen. Maybe I can be the one who show them, But unlike you, Marwa, I walk a lonely road. Marwa, I want to be honest with you. This journey is very painful. There are nights I don't sleep, not because I'm editing videos, but because I'm wondering if I should keep going. There are days when I film with nothing but a cracked phone and hope. There are times I've gone hungry because the little money I had, I used it for transport to film. There are moments I upload a video and watch it struggle to get even 100 views, and yet I still wake up and try again. I dream of growing my channel, of telling powerful African stories, of building something for my daughter, for my people, but without support it's like walking through fire with bare feet. No equipment, no sponsors, no camera crew, just my voice and this unshakable belief that one day someone will listen. That's why I'm writing to you this letter, not to beg, but to be seen, to tell you that, and maybe you subscribe, but that I'm also here, trying, fighting, hoping, filming, alone, yes, but never without purpose. Marwa, you know what hurts more than failure? It's being invisible, working so hard, and yet feeling like no one sees you, no one notices the sleepless nights, the sacrifices, the dreams held together by nothing but prayer. Sometimes I post a video and I stare at the screen, refreshing the page, 1 view, 2 views, a comment from a random spam account, silence. And in those moments I whisper to myself, is this dream even valid? I'm not lazy, I'm not waiting for handouts, I'm not begging to be famous. All I want is a chance, a real chance, a platform to speak, a space to breathe, a moment where anyone says, I see you, keep going. I've worked in radio, I've broadcasted shows across the country, I've walked miles to tell stories in the village, I've interviewed elders, captured forgotten traditions and turned nothing into something, but still, support does not come easy, People watch but they don't share, they admire but they from a distance. I carry this entire vision on my shoulders alone, and sometimes I wonder, is it because I am too raw, too local, too unpolished? But then I remember you, Marwa, you were raw too. You started with a cracked lens, poor lighting, shaky hands, but your passion, it lit up the screen. And that's what kept me going. I told myself, if Marwa was seen, maybe I would be seen too, maybe one day. Yet each time I tried to take a bigger step, maybe buy a microphone, maybe travel to shoot something new, I hit a wall, financial walls, emotional walls. I have to choose between data and dinner, between paying a bill or buying a tripod. And even when I managed to film, I ask myself, will anyone even watch this? But then I think about your journey. You didn't let poverty stop you. You didn't let the mockery silence you. You didn't wait for perfect. You moved with what you had, and I tell myself, Marwa's journey is proof that visibility begins with self-belief. So here I am, standing on that same starting line, no spotlight, no sponsors, just a voice, a dream, and this video. Hoping it reaches someone who sees what you once saw in yourself, Marwa. If I ever got the chance to meet you, Marwa, I don't think I would say much at first. I would probably just stand there, silent for a moment, not because I'm starstruck, but because I would be holding back tears. Not many people understand what it means to fight quietly, but you would. I would look into your eyes and say, thank you, my brother, you saved me. Not with money, not with a shout out, not even with words, but with your life. With your journey, with your example, you saved me from quitting, from settling, from shrinking my dreams to fit in the silence around me. I would tell you that in Uganda, there is a young man named Dedan who picked up his camera because of you, who started talking to his people about his people because of the fire you lit. I would show you my earliest videos, shaky, blurry, unedited, but full of soul. And I would say, look, Marwa, I started too. I would tell you about my daughter, just 2 years old, and how everything I'm building is for her. I want her to grow up seeing her father as a man who didn't run from his roots, who didn't fear rejection, who fought for his story. I would also ask you questions, not about YouTube growth or algorithms, but about resilience, about how you handled loneliness, betrayal, burnout, because I know you've been through things we never see on camera. And if we sat under a tree in your compound in Nyabohanse, just two African brothers talking, me and you, I would tell you, you gave us permission to dream in our language, to tell our stories with mud walls and mango trees in the background. You made the village cool again, and I would ask you humbly to never stop, because there are thousands of us watching, hoping, healing because of what you started. And to the beautiful people who follow I Am Marwa, who have supported him, stood with him, grown with him, allow me to borrow your ears just for a moment. I know you love him because you see his heart, you see his humility, his hustle, his kindness. You saw him rise from a small village to the world stage. You were there through the construction, the tears, the triumphs. You're not just fans, you're family. And I come to you today, not asking for likes or views, but for your understanding, for your attention, for your eyes, for your ears. Just look and listen to me a little further, across the border into Uganda, where another brother is trying, fighting, creating. My name is Dedan Arho, and like Marwa, I walk dusty roads with a dream in my chest. I carry a phone in one hand and hope in another. I'm building something too, maybe slower, maybe smaller, but with the same African heartbeat. I don't have the same following, I don't have the same exposure, but I have the same spirit. I believe in the beauty of Africa. I believe in the stories of our people, and I believe that every village deserves to be heard. So if Marwa's journey moved you, maybe you can let mine whisper to your heart too. Maybe you can watch a video, leave a comment, subscribe, share. Maybe you can be the reason I don't give up. Because when you support one of us, you lift all of us. And just like you helped Marwa rise, maybe together you can help me to rise. Okay? Let me tell you something, Marwa. When I first saw your village, Nyabohanse, through your lens, I felt like I was walking through the heart of Africa. Not the Africa they show on foreign news, but the real one. The one that breathes, the one that smiles, the one that builds with bare hands and dreams with a full heart. I saw you walking barefoot, sometimes proud of where you come from, proud of your mud house, proud of your mother's kitchen, proud of your neighbors, your livestock, your red dust roads. That confidence you had, that joy, it made me reflect deeply. Here I was, ashamed of my humble background, hiding my pain, feeling like I had to escape my roots to find meaning. But you showed me that everything I needed was already inside my story. What you've done for your village, Marwa, is beyond what money can measure. You brought electricity, you built a beautiful mansion, not just for comfort, but as a symbol, a statement that greatness can rise from the same soil where others gave up. You showed the youth that they don't have to run to the city to be somebody, they can stay in the village and shine just as bright. I watched as you gave jobs to local youth, building, gardening, fencing, even helping you film. That ripple effect is something no politician has ever achieved where I come from. And let me be honest, Marwa, watching you build your family's dream home from scratch made me cry. Not because I was jealous, but because I had always dreamed of, doing the same for my mother. She sacrificed everything for me, but till now, I'm struggling to even patch the leaking roof. You turned your YouTube channel into a mission, not just a platform. And to me, that is power. That's legacy. That is the kind of impact we rarely see. And it hurt. It really hurts because I had the fire, the vision, the hunger, but not the means. No sponsors, no camera, no laptop, no support. Just a second-hand phone and borrowed time to borrow dreams. There are days I wake up and ask myself, what is the point? But then I rewatch your videos, your village videos, and I remember that change does not come overnight. It starts with breathing, even when nobody else does. So dear Marwa, I want to say thank you. You didn't just build a house, you built hope. And hope is exactly what I've been, living on. If there is one thing I want you to know, it is that this journey I'm on is not easy. It's lonely, it's full of challenges most people never see. I'm chasing this dream with no safety net, no sponsors, no cameras handed to me, no cheering crowds. Most days actually I film with what I have, a cracked phone, second-hand software, and I remember one evening after a long day traveling to a remote village, my phone battery died. While I was halfway through recording a story, I had no charge, I had no power bank, just a fading sun and a silent heart. I sat on the dusty ground, tear threatening to fall, asking myself, how do I keep growing with everything I own is going against me? So Marwa, over time, something shifted inside me. The fear began to loosen its grip. The doubts didn't disappear, yes, but I learned to speak despite them. I started to see that my story, my voice mattered, not because I was perfect, but because I was real. I took every opportunity I could find. I walked into studios with nothing but a heart full of hope and a voice eager to tell stories. At the radio where I work, I found a platform, but not the one I dreamed of. Still I embraced every moment, learning the power of words, of connecting with people through the airwaves. You've really helped me a lot, Marwa. There are days when I feel invisible, like my efforts vanish into air, unnoticed, unheard. I post videos, share stories, power my heart into content that I believe could change minds, and then I watch the views tickle in and the comments barely come. The silence is deafening, Sometimes I wonder if anyone really cares, if anyone sees beyond these pixelated images and the shaky camera, if anyone feels the passion behind the words. I ask myself if I'm shouting into a void, hoping for an echo that never comes. It is very painful. It is very lonely. And it is very, very, very exhausting. Thank you, Marwa. Thank you for believing in a man from a small village with a big dream, for standing with him when many doubted, for sharing in his victories and also his struggles. Today I stand before you through this letter and this video, asking not for pity, but for connection, for understanding, for a chance. I am Dedan, a brother from Uganda, chasing a dream similar to Marwa's. I am building my story piece by piece, using what little I have, but what I lack in resources, I make up for in passion, in honesty, and in a deep love for our Africa. If you have admired Marwa's journey, I humbly ask you to look at mine, to watch, to listen, to share, to support. Even a simple comment, a share, a subscription can change everything for me. Because when we lift one another, when we support the dreamers who start with nothing but hope, we build a stronger Africa, an Africa whose stories are told by us, for us, by us again. Marwa showed the world that the village is powerful. Now I want to carry that touch forward. So to you, Marwa, thank you for being a light in the darkness. And to your subscribers, thank you for being the family that holds us all up. Together we can change the narrative. Together we can rise. This is not just my story. It is our story. This is not my story alone. It is our story. Marwa, I love you so much.